I've always wondered what exactly Nintendo was thinking with the design of the N64 controller. I've never found it particularly comfortable or ideal for games, which makes it difficult to play classics like Mario 64, Ocarina of Time, or Banjo-Kazooie. It's now that I see the controller design seems to be a bit of a gamble or gimmick, but is truly a defining moment in 3D gaming. It appears that they practically put two controllers into one, where some games, like 2D ones, would make use of the D-pad, while 3D games would make use of the analog stick. For this, they would have three prongs so that you could move your hand based on what kind of game you're playing. Of course, this assumes that no game developer would make a game that uses both the D-pad and the analog stick at once, which wasn't the case. Beyond that, I became a little fascinated with the analog stick, as it always felt so rudimentary, with it being oddly long compared to modern controllers. Although having an 8-way shaped plastic fitting for easily aligning it with 8-way directions was an interesting feature. Then it occurred to me that it may be the first thumbstick on a mainstream console. Large joysticks meant for your whole hand had been around for quite some time, of course, the Atari 2600 controller being a pretty obvious example. And of course, the PlayStation released before the N64, but its original controller did not have the analog sticks that would end up defining Sony's controllers up to today's PS5. But the stick on the N64 seemed almost experimental, though it was not Nintendo's first analog stick venture. The NES saw accessories like the NES Advantage with a joystick and the NES Max, which had a thumbstick-esque device. Its movement is described as sliding around, which doesn't sound like a thumbstick, but I must admit I've never used an NES Max controller for myself, so I cannot say for sure. There were also, of course, third-party accessories that had thumbsticks, but they never really took off. One example I found was the XE1AP for Sega Genesis. Nonetheless, I think the N64 controller is an interesting story. It took a bit of a gamble, but there is no doubt that the thumbstick would define 3D gaming for years to come, no matter how odd or clunky some players found it.